Well, I did it. I installed an Autopilot in my van's RV6. Since I first bought the plane, my mission has changed. I've gone from, doing 1 hour flights, maybe 2 hour flights in the local area to go sightsee or to go get breakfast or lunch. So now I've started to fly longer distances. My daughter lives in the Southern California area. I live in the Northern California area. She recently added a daughter to her family and my granddaughter, and we have another one on the way. So we've started to fly more often from the Northern California area to the Southern California area, which is about a 3-hour flight. And while I can do the flight, it's no problem. It does get very tedious trying to maintain heading and altitude with a plane like this. So I decided that I wanted to invest in an Autopilot. An Autopilot will allow you to fly basically hands off. You don't have to touch the controls while you're in steady and level flight. It will do basic turns for you. It'll also handle basic climb and descents for you. You still do need to manage power. I actually looked at a couple different options and I was pretty set on one of them. The first option I looked at was a Garmin option for experimental. I love this option. It has a head unit. It's called the GMC 507. Allows you to have a push button for level and heading and track. In order to install it in this plane, I would need some servos, and those servos would mount inside the plane and basically would attach to the control rods that control the aileron and control the elevator. So it's a relatively, I'll say, simple installation. It's not terrible. You have to take out some of the interior of the plane. There are some installation kits that are available that make it a little bit easier to install, and I had been heavily investigating that solution and was getting ready to move forward. The biggest downside to me of the Garmin solution, well, there are two downsides to the Garmin solution. One is cost. Just like anything Garmin, it is expensive, and you need all these other little things in order to make it work. So I can't just buy a head unit and some servos and have an Autopilot. The GPS that I have in here is an RS660. It's a WASP-based GPS. That GPS won't control the GMC 507 head unit. I needed to buy a Garmin G5, which is a standalone instrument, in order to provide the attitude and heading reference and the GPS source to the GMC 507. So in my plane right now, I have an Avionics AV30, which is my go-to instrument. It basically provides my attitude, my heading, has all my GPS information, has my speeds, and it's my single unit that I basically rely on for flight. I would have had to replace that with a Garmin G5. Not necessarily a bad replacement. I like the Garmin G5, but it just adds additional cost and additional complexity to my installation that I really didn't want to have to deal with. An alternative solution that I was looking at was the Bendix King XCruze. Very nice unit. I know a number of people who have the TrueTrack version of that unit. They love it. They say it's rock solid. The biggest issue with that is that TrueTrack sold to Bendix, and from my personal references that I have, that I talk to on a regular basis, they haven't had very good luck getting support from Bendix. The other downside of that solution was that the instrument was very basic and very simple. Keeps it very easy to understand, but it doesn't add as much value as the other choice in this decision that I was making. The third solution that I considered is a relatively new solution to me. It's from a company called Aircraft Automation, and it's called the SuperECO Autopilot. Now, the SuperECO Autopilot is different than the other two solutions I was considering. The SuperECO actually adds trim tabs to my control surfaces on my plane. So I would add a trim tab that is controlled by a servo on my aileron and another trim tab controlled by a servo on my elevator. This is a different type of installation than putting the servos, attaching them directly to the push rods that actuate the controls in my RV6. So a very different type of installation, which has its pros and cons. The pros are that it's external to the plane. It's very easy for me to inspect on each pre-flight, make sure that it's working properly. The cons are that I have to modify my control surfaces. So that does come with a little bit of balance risk. So what you have to do is you have to make sure that you rebalance your control surfaces once you install this device on your aileron and your elevator. So that is a little bit of a downside of this solution. Another big upside of the SuperECO solution was the instrumentation that comes along with the Autopilot. you basically get a complete pilot information system with the SuperECO system. Now I have a Garmin RS660 GPS solution that I use for my moving map and my GPS, and the Garmin will talk directly to my SuperECO head unit, showing me my airport that I'm heading to, my distance to the next waypoint, and also it can take the GPS information from the RS660. So that integrates very nicely with the equipment that I have. So it's a more integrated solution for my plane. Another advantage of the SuperECO is the cost of the solution. The cost to me was going to be about $3,600 all in for the SuperECO Autopilot solution versus the Garmin solution at $5,500 to $6,500 or the Bendix King solution at around $4,000. So the SuperECO solution was not only a much better instrument with a lot more information and a lot more situational awareness that it would add to my capability inside the cockpit, but it also was a less expensive solution for me in my installation. Okay, I pulled the trigger. I just purchased the SuperECO Autopilot from Aircraft Automation. Based on all the reasons I just told you, I feel like this is going to be a really great addition to my plane. Before I made my purchase, I reached out to Aircraft Automation and asked them if they could give me any consideration for putting some YouTube videos together to document my installation and the experience of using their product. So they did give me a slight discount on the SuperECO Autopilot, which I really appreciate. Thank you, Aircraft Automation. Let's open this bad boy up. All right. Okay, so I got my instrument, which we'll look at in just a second. There's the flush mount kit, the waterproof servo, very cool. Wow, these tabs are light. Yes, very important. All right. We have our cables. Here's the wire harness, pre-wired with the two cutoff switches and the autopilot disconnect. Very cool. These must be the wires that go to the servos. 20 foot. Our GPS puck. And here's what the SuperECO looks like in the box. Very small. Should have no problem fitting in my panel. And it looks like on the back we've got your DB15, USB, static pitot, GPS antenna, and then this must be an out like for the EcoTrim instrument. And some screws. All right, all ready to go. It is a lot of work putting these videos together, but I certainly hope that you, my YouTube audience, appreciate seeing the decision process. And I'm going to put together another video on the installation, so I am planning to film the installation as we put this thing together, so hopefully you can follow along with that. And then I'm going to put together a video of what it's like to fly with the SuperECO Autopilot. So I'm really excited about getting this installed on my plane, and I can't wait to share this information with you.